copy, paste. That's exactly what happened here today. Big Ten Ted coming at you for this game reaction, Ohio State and Nebraska. You have got to give big time props to that Nebraska defense. Now, the stats may say C.J. Stroud passed for nearly 400 yards in this matchup for the Buckeyes, but all in all, you look at the points, and Nebraska played pretty good defensively. They stopped Ohio State when they needed to. The big thing when you're playing Ohio State football, limit the big play. Really, there was only that one big play with Smith-Njigba going 75 yards on his own after that curl route to the house. And that's really the only big play that Ohio State had all day, and that's what you needed to do. That's what Nebraska did. Now, their offense didn't do anything, right, in that first part of the game when Ohio State wasn't exactly turning offensively. And that's a key as to why maybe Nebraska lost. One of the keys is because they couldn't get things going offensively. When Ohio State is not doing it, when they're not scoring points, you need to score points. You need to score touchdowns. And Nebraska didn't do that here in this football game. So my takeaway from this, let's start first with Nebraska. Kicking game sucked again. Special teams had a really short punt again. How many times, there's a different kicker in there, right? How many times, how many different guys can you go through that and the same result happens? Eventually, you gotta fix it. That's the cold hard truth. Eventually, you've got to get that righted, and that just didn't happen here today. Look, here's kind of a reaction. A lot of fans after the Purdue game kind of switched to the fire Scott Frost bandwagon. Not everybody did, but a lot of people did. Now, there were certain points in this time where a lot of people were jumping back. But once again, it's the same stuff. It's the same stuff. It's Adrian Martinez not being consistent. It's the special teams. It's the offensive line not doing good. It's a young offensive line. It's the same stuff over and over. Now, Nebraska has had an extremely tough schedule this season. And they've been in it with some of the best teams in the country. Some of the best teams in the conference. Some of the best teams in America. And I believe Scott Frost is getting there. And I'm still a little up in the air whether he could be fired or not at the end of the season. Because you look at Wisconsin and Iowa. He goes out, they beat Wisconsin and Iowa. They go 5-7. Yeah, he's back. Those are two pretty solid wins. But he has not proven once again that he can go out and win these kinds of games. He can come close. So darn close. But close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. This Nebraska team, they've looked the same all year long against really good teams. And they've gotten the same result. That's exactly what happened. With Ohio State, they needed a challenge. I think this is a great back-to-back challenges against Penn State and Nebraska. And that was kind of what I took away from it from the Buckeye side of things, is as you go along, and if you want to be a playoff contender, you're going to need to be challenged. You're going to need to be able to win close games, and that's exactly what happened. I'm not sold. I know C.J. Stroud is a really good talent. He's put up really good numbers. I'm not sold he can go out there and win the biggest of games against the best of opponents, right? Through 2 picks today, there were some play calls, and there were some throws that seemed a little head-scratching at time for C.J., but in the end, they found a way to win. Travion Henderson didn't really hit a big play today. But you got to give big props to Jackson Smith-Njigba. When Garrett Wilson was out, I tweeted it before the game kicked off. When Garrett Wilson was out, I figured Jackson Smith-Njigba would step up and have a big day. And I don't know, I didn't think he'd have this big a day. But he had a huge day. What does this mean for Ohio State? It means that they can win close games. It means that they can win competitive games, something that the guys on the other side of this game cannot do. Big challenges. We know they got 2 big challenges ahead of them on the schedule in Michigan State. And Michigan, these tight games like this is going to prepare Ohio State down the road to be able to win those types of tight games. Going back to Nebraska here to finish off for just a second. Look, eventually, see, the thing is, it's the same thing over and over. I think that's what frustrates fans the most, is you know what the issues are. You knew what the issues are probably in the Illinois game, right? The beginning of the game, that 8-point loss right off the bat, okay? And these issues have just continued, and they've continued, and they've continued. You can see the progression. that Scott Frost is making with his kids. You can see the progression that this program is making, going wire to wire with Oklahoma, Michigan, Michigan State, and Ohio State. I mean, name another team that has done that. Also, name another team that has played that tough of a schedule. It's crazy, and maybe these one-score losses, these playing it tough, is going to be enough for Scott to come back with a weaker schedule next year in 2022. But man, it's the same stuff week after week after week. Finally, they got Samori Toure a little bit more involved with some big plays. But the most frustrating part of this, I think, for Husker fans is the continued special teams, offensive line inconsistency from Adrian Martinez. But here you are yet again, officially Nebraska on the outside looking in as far as bowl eligibility. I want to hear what you guys think on this one. I did not think it would be this close. I thought Ohio State would pull away big time in the second half, but big props to Nebraska for staying around as long as they did. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe to Big Ten Ted for Big Ten football content. I'll see you in the next one.